Hey gang, welcome back to Rebel Media. Today we're going to be talking about A.P. Hill and his monument that is the last one standing in Richmond, Virginia, why it's still standing, and why it might not be standing there very much longer. After the riots of 2020, Confederate monuments really came to the forefront of discussion for Americans. And we may not see eye to eye. You might be watching this video and be totally against the monuments, and that's okay. I respect your opinion, but hopefully you can respect mine. I was bummed out to see all the statues getting destroyed and Jefferson Davis being dragged through the streets, because I'm a history nerd and a Civil War nerd, and I wanted to get down there and I wanted to see the statues before they were gone. So in 2021, I headed out to Richmond, and by the time I got there, all the equestrian tops of the statues had been removed and only their pedestals remained. It was a depressing sight to see, but the only statue that still remained intact was A.P. Hill. The reason A.P. Hill's statue was still there is because the general is buried underneath it. Ambrose Powell Hill was born on November 9, 1825. He was named after his father, who served in the Virginia government and who was also close friends with President James Madison. Hill went to West Point and graduated 15th out of a class of 38. He served in the United States military and served in the Mexican-American War. Hill was against secession, slavery, and never owned a slave. He, like Robert E. Lee, could not raise his sword against Virginia. He left the Federal Army and joined the Confederate Army in 1861. So now it's April 2nd, 1865. Robert E. Lee will be surrendering in 7 days. A.P. Hill finds out that the Union has broke the Confederate lines at Petersburg and the end is near. So he jumps on his horse to see what he can do. He rides off to Robert E. Lee's headquarters, and they warn him, don't go any further. Well, him and one of his aides, a guy by the name of Tucker, Sergeant Tucker, they go off, and the whole area is crawling with about 1,000 Federal soldiers. And they run into two from a Pennsylvania regiment, and they demand their surrender. Well, the Federal soldiers refuse to surrender, and shots are fired off. One misses, but the other one blows off A.P. Hill's thumb, goes through his heart, and he's dead before he falls off his horse and hits the ground. Since Hill was born in Culpeper, Virginia, he had wished to be buried there. However, getting to Culpeper was just not going to happen with the Federal invasion going on and all. So he was buried at a nearby relative's farm. In 1867, his body was exhumed and he was buried for a second time in Hollywood Cemetery in Richmond, Virginia. And on June 24th, 1891, he was moved again to where he is today. And that brings us to right now.
They're trying to expedite the process of having the statue behind me taken down, and because of some legal challenges, they're now getting the court involved, and not just because they want this monument gone.
Richmond, where someone is buried underneath it. Now, Councilwoman Lambert did say that
It's taking Richmond City Hall so long to remove that final Confederate statue. It's being held up in a legal challenge by descendants of the Confederate General A.P. Hill.
Richmond's last standing Confederate monument is being donated to the Black History Museum and Cultural Center of Virginia. One councilwoman says moving A.P. Hill.
Well, here we are in 2022 with nothing better to do but argue about digging up a dead man who's been gone for 157 years. Mr. Hill was a warrior and a fighter. He's already been dug up twice, and I think he deserves to rest. If we have to move him, then let's move him to Culpeper, where he wanted to be initially. I think that's fair. What isn't fair is using his monument as a pawn in the game of social justice by donating it to the African American Museum. Slavery was definitely a factor in the war. There's no denying that, but it wasn't the only factor. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here and taking the time to watch my video. If you could smash that subscribe button, I would really appreciate it if I've earned it. And look forward to seeing you guys on the next video.